Hi everyone, this is Sarah Wood. I'm the current NFIRS Program Manager for the state of Kansas. I work at the Office of the State Fire Marshal headquartered in Topeka, Kansas. And this video is all about error files. And technically it follows directly after the video about bulk import. I just finished that video, so that's the folder that I've got to work with right now. So if you just watched that video, this is the one that kind of follows it up. But whether you're working with one error file or 100, the same techniques work. I have two different things to show you. The first is how I do all of my error files. So after I do a bulk import, I'm left with a bunch of error files. And then before I email my fire departments, I go through all my error files and I compile them into one spreadsheet, just because I think for me it's faster, because I can look at them a lot faster. So to start with, I open up each error file and I pare them down just to the ones that I'm really interested in. And that saves me time because I'm not having to copy them over to Excel. So the more you work with error files, the more your eyes will understand the pattern of them. And the way that they're made is they're made by columns. And of course I can't do the column, it's going to highlight the whole row, Sarah, of course. So the first column here is, you'll notice this is the same thing. That's your FDID. And then state, then there's a date. And then this is your report number, caret, and then this is exposure number, caret, and then it'll tell you, this is typically a module, but if there's an issue with an entire module itself, it'll say NFIRS data entry tool. Like if I scroll down here, this one says NFIRS basic module right here. So every time you see a caret, that's basically a placeholder and it means new field. So we have FDID caret, which means go to a new field, state. And I'll show you how it actually looks when we get to Excel. But the point is that your eyes will start noticing a pattern here. And this particular error that you can see is a warning level, and it's actually not one that I'm worried about. There's only a couple of warnings that I do care about. One is the 24-hour warning. If a call is over 24 hours, I pay attention to those because it typically indicates kind of a typo or maybe even a CAD issue. And the second is property loss over $2 million, just because I like to verify those when they occur, when they come in, because I know I'm going to have to verify them at the end of the year too. Those are the two I can think of off the top of my head. I'm sure that there's a couple more, but those are the two main ones. So as I scroll down, I can tell these are all just warnings, and then there's another warning, the 20 minutes exceeds an FBA standard. That's not one that I return back either, so I ignore that. And then as I scroll down, I'm at the very bottom. So this entire file is actually nothing that I need to return back on. So what I do at that point is I close it, and then I delete it. I don't need it. There's nothing in there that's useful for me or the department at the time. I open the next one. I can see these are all warnings. These are all +1 warnings. That means the fire department is using a third-party software and they have a +1 code assigned. The system is going to always give you a warning for those +1 codes because it cannot directly assign something to that +1 code. So it'll always give you an error. Again, this is not something that I need to return back, so I close it and then I delete it. Go to the next one. And then I just keep on going. Now I'm going to leave the rest of these just so that you can see what I do with multiple files. So let's pretend that the rest of these 4 files all have errors in them. From here, I'm used to working on dual monitors, so I would have Excel open on one monitor and then all of the files open on the other. But to start with, I'm going to click on the first error file. I have them sorted by type, which is why they're all in a row. So I'm going to click on them all. With them all highlighted, I'm going to hit enter on my keyboard. That opens them all. And then I have Excel already open. Now I have it kind of condensed right here. I only need the first column to show you what I want to do. So with that open, I'm going to click on the first error file, anywhere in that error file, and then I'm going to hit Control A on my keyboard to highlight everything. Then I hit Control C to copy, or you can right click and choose copy. Back in Excel, I'm going to hit Control V as in Victor, or you can right click and then paste. So that adds everything from that one. Now you can scroll to the bottom. If you have a ton of errors and you want to get to the very bottom so that you can add to the next one, I'll show you a quick Excel trick. If you, on your keyboard, hit Control and then your down arrow, it will go to the last record. So then I hit down one more time and I'm in a blank row. I close that error file, go to the next one, hit Control A, hit Control C to copy, come back to Excel, paste it in there. None of these are particularly large, so I'm just scrolling. Basically, I'm getting all of these into one Excel spreadsheet. So I'm gonna hit Control, down, there we go. And then last one, I'm gonna paste it right there. Okay, those are all of my error files. So from here, I'm gonna make this bigger. Hopefully you can still see it all. And then Control up will take me to the very top. Now the problem with this right now is that all of this is showing in one line. So like the B column, that's actually blank. We have to do something called text to columns, which is a fairly simple process. So pause at each step if you need to. I will kind of pause between steps. The first step is to highlight your first column. So I click on A or wherever you get that down. So click highlight. The next is to click data and then click text to columns. You'll get a pop-up. Choose delimited. Click next. Choose other and then type in Shift-6 to get the caret because that's actually the symbol that separates the fields here. You can click next, but you don't need to. You can just click finish. And now every field is in the right column and it's a lot more useful. If you click this box right here, it's going to highlight everything. Hover between two columns until you get arrows that face away from each other and then double click. That will size each column to the size that you need it. I automatically get rid of the column that has state because everything's the same state. I automatically get rid of the last two columns because I don't need it. What I'll do now is I will insert a row, and here is the pattern for the fields. So here's the actual, what you need to call them, or what they really are. Your first column is your FDID. Your second column is your report date. Your third column is the report number, or call number, or whatever you want to call it. Column number D is your exposure number. Extend that out. Column number E is the module where the error exists. Column number F is a description of the error. Level G is the level of the error. It's either going to be warning or critical. And then H is the actual field where the error exists. So to give you an example, on these first two, they have to do with losses required. They're from the same report, you can tell. So it wants property loss and contents loss. And you can tell that because that's the field. Those fields are both in the basic module and they're both warning levels. So from here, I would typically turn it into a table. So I would hit Control T and then just click OK. And that turns it into this. And the reason why I do that is so that I can filter and I can sort a lot faster. I don't think I have any exposures. So if you click the down arrow, exposure is all 0. So I'm going to click OK, right click, and then I'm going to get rid of that. And I'm doing that right now for space for you guys. So from here, I would probably sort for warning levels because I'm only really worried about those two warnings that I told you. And then I want to search, well, I don't want to search, but I want to sort. So I go up to data. I'm going to sort A to Z. And then C, I don't care about if they put the FDID or the incident number for aid given. So I'm going to delete those rows. I do care about this 24 hours, but I don't care about loss required. I don't care about +1 codes. I'm just kind of scrolling here. And then the last little bit is response times. So those are warning levels that I don't care about, so I'm going to get rid of those. Now, normally, these 24 hours I would return back to the fire department to ask them if they were correct. But for these two, I can tell by the dates that these were actually wildfire days and the calls were over 24 hours. So I already know in this case. I don't need to email this back because the department, I don't need to verify with them, I already know. So I'm going to delete them. I'm going to unfilter and then I'm going to filter again. And what I'm left with is not a whole lot of critical errors. I didn't have a whole lot in what I was importing, but it will tell me exactly what's wrong. So from here, I typically if I had more than one FDID left, I would sort by the FDID. And then I would go back to my email where they had submitted all of the emails. I don't necessarily need to know the name of the sender who from the hiccup there. I hit a 10-minute time limit and then I have to start a second video. But I don't necessarily need to know the name of the person who sent the file from the fire department. I just need to know their FDID, because in the file itself that they attached, it typically has their FDID in it. So Outlook can find it if I just go to search. And what I mean is, if I go to my Outlook, which is not open, of course it's not open. If I go to my Outlook, I can go to my search and then I can type in their FDID, whatever FDID it is right here. So that's what I would do, and then I would find the email that they had sent me with the file on it. I would respond to that email. If it's a ton of errors, I would typically just make them their own Excel spreadsheet. Like I would open a new Excel, and then I would make them their own, spreadsheet so that they would have all of that there. And then I would explain to them that it was attached. If there are any tricky errors, I would explain how they need to fix them. The second part of this is the tool from Ohio that they developed. And what it does is it's a spreadsheet, and it does the text to columns for you. So when you open it, it asks you to select a file. And where you go is you find wherever you had the error file. So I'm going to use, let's see, this is the one. So you would select your error file, and then what it does is it parses it out for you. So it already names everything. It just does that whole text to columns process. I don't use this one because I want all of my error files on one spreadsheet for me to work with, because I just can sort and get rid of all of the ones I don't care about at one time, rather than having to sort between 5 or 6 fire departments again and again and again and again. So that is error files, and hopefully that's useful. And I'll put some links in there for where to find this particular tool if you're interested in it. And then I'll also include some documentation on text to columns.